And we can do a join on the ID here. And let's just take a quick look at this. Because this is a table that has a geometry column, a KLOM in this case, right? We can look at it on a map, and it should render fairly quickly. Not super exciting because we don't have a lot of attribute data to look at. So let's join these two. Let's go merge. I will merge to my districts table, which I uploaded. And I think I have to join it to the district code, which matches the ID here. I'm going to call this GeoMeetup table. And so what we should get here is this joined, or what we call fusion table. That's the name, fusion tables. And it has this kind of join. And we can join many, many tables together in different ways. So let's take a look at this now. If I visualize this as a map, we should see similar idea, except if we click on one of these info windows now, we have a lot more attribute information. So this is one of the things that we can configure. I'll just give a brief example of that. If I want a different info window, we could make a bunch of really nice HTML. And kind of going along with my colorblind typography technique, I'll just choose these two fields and throw a couple of line breaks in. And save that. And so the next time someone was to click on one of these, they would see a more reasonable info window that you could style. Yeah?
Can you make a choropleth map, but coded shaded according to one of the attributes?
Yeah, we can. So this is something that's relatively new in Fusion Tables, is some styling that we've added. And so the Configure Styles button. We've had it for a little while, the ability with your polygons to choose just a fixed color like we have now. Choose your attributes based on a column. If one of your columns, for example, had a color that you pre-specified, we'll choose these buckets where you can kind of map a series of ranges to a specific color. And then today, actually, was just launched this gradient, so I don't think too many of you folks have probably seen this. And for the gradient, I'm going to choose, again, I'll choose the median age, because I know something about it. And we'll just choose 3 colors. Let's go from 30 to 40. And choose green. Oops. Green, let's make it a little bit more opaque. Alright, and if we save that gradient map, what we should get is a choropleth map based on, in this case, the median age, going from 30 to 40. So pretty powerful, I think. I think choropleth maps have, been fairly tricky in the past for most folks to work with. This makes it really, really fast and simple. Again, we have an embeddable link. You could just embed this into your web page. It would show up, this exact view and so forth. But there's more. So I will show you very, very briefly, whoops, get back here, my demo. This is an extremely simple Google Maps mashup. Of course, it has to be styled. And now we can go ahead and add some data. And the data that I want to add to this map is going to be the table we just created, which has gone away. There it is. And I can see that this table ID is this. And I've just written a little JavaScript, which I'm happy to show you, which sets the table ID when I enter this. And should pop up, and now we have Mashup. And then I can add some arbitrary SQL to this as well that matches various fields. So in this case, median age, let's say less than 5. And there we go. So you can see this is really, really powerful and simple. I'll show you again the JavaScript code. When I typed in this 35 here, all it did was run one line of JavaScript that says set the query from my Fusion Tables layer to where median age less than 35 in this case, or 57, etc. Okay, so that was really fast. I talked kind of quick. I went over, nothing too crazy looking with code, but I think really, really, really powerful features. So hopefully you guys have some questions.
What is the restriction or licensing of pricing?
Or is still lab, like?
So it's out of labs. We don't have a pricing model announced right now. The restriction is, I think, 200 megabytes per user, and it's free. And the content that you put in there is your content, so you own that content. I didn't talk about the permissions. You can choose by default when you upload data, it's private. So if you were to try to get to this table, you couldn't. I can do it because I'm logged in right now. But I could set that to be unlisted or public and searchable. There's also additional permissions you can do per column and even per row. So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah.
So on the V3 styling, I noticed that all the labels on the terrain tiles have been baked in. So you can see if you want to look at map of China, everything Chinese or whatever. Is that different in V3 now? Is anything baked in, or can you remove all the layers?
So the styling is only for, it's not for the terrain map. And you might know better, are the labels baked into the terrain map? So, yeah.
The terrain map is not.
Yeah, so the styling is only for what we call the roadmap. And you start out with a base, and then you can style that as you wish. And so I didn't go too much into the wizard. I just clicked, for example, roads. But there was another option where you can choose to have your label apply to the geometry or just the labels. And so there's quite a bit of granularity as you work your way down. You know, administrative stuff, just parks, turn off the labels with just parks and so forth. But not in the terrain or satellite. Yeah.
Okay. So way back to the original where you're doing a lot of the create your own maps kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So the quintessential example of rolling on maps now is this. If you look for rolling on maps right now on Google, you would find like a part article by an Everblock guy who talks about rolling on maps, essentially to show off your own data.
Yeah.
And one of the things he talks about is like you need to have a map that exposes your data in a really good way. So if you have roads data, like Google Maps is terrible, because Google Maps overlays the name of the road on top of the road.
Yeah.
Some kind of.
So I think that article was by Adrian.
No, it's not. Well, Adrian did a blog post like early.
But I know the article you're referring to,
yeah.
and yeah, I guess my answer to that is times have changed a little bit. You know, we didn't have the ability to style maps back then at all.
Well, no, you showed like turning on and off features, but you didn't show like changing fonts or moving any of the
So I'll show you a little bit more of the features. First of all, you're limited. You don't have complete control. For example, over fonts.
Okay.
Right now, you can just do the sort of granularity that we allow. But you can turn labels on and off for pretty discrete.
So can you move the label?
No, so the labels.
Because the label is over a line, can you move it off the line?
No, so we have no offset, and you could probably speak better to this, Tor, but my understanding is labels. I think the short answer is labeling is a very complicated problem, and so letting the user say, I want to move this label a little bit, never really works very well because maybe some other place of interest comes in and now conflicts with that label, and so the labeling algorithm is very, very complicated. Some of the things that GIS packages like, I think Mapnik, who's a map rendering engine that has more robust labeling options now, Esri's, additional like extensions you can buy let you set priorities of different labels. Like I want these labels to always show, even if it means these ones go away. But none of them, to my knowledge, that you say like this one is definitely going to go right there in most cases because there's context there. Yeah, so this one is I think pretty quick, and it doesn't again have complete control over every little thing that someone might do, but it lets you I think take 95, 99% cases most people have. If you want, you know, your water to have those little squirrely lines and mermaid, like all of that stuff, then you start needing to look at creating your own tiles and your own custom cartography outside of this. So we're really focusing on the use case of the majority of people who want to brand their map in a certain way, remove certain features, highlight certain other features. But yeah, there's none of that super discrete like pixel control. Yeah.
So one thing I'm interested in doing is animations over time. So you can do that in Google Earth.
Yeah. And
you can, if people have the browser plugin, you can put that on your website, but how many people want to bother downloading a browser plugin? It's a little bit off-putting. Are there any fundamental obstacles to doing it? Are there any plans to get that functionality into Google Maps and be able to go through Fusion tables to upload your data with the time in it and then have something that will animate with a timeline?
Well, This is not maybe exactly what you're looking for, but it would not be difficult at all, for example, if you have a time column in Fusion tables, to query for things between this date, query for things between that date, and only show you that subset of data that matches your date query, as it were. And then it would not be difficult to write a short JavaScript method that says, loop through and, move that time query up by day every 2 seconds or whatever it is, and then it would play through those tiles. So you could sort of do it like that, but no, there's no inherent built-in thing like we have in KML with, some of the time features there in maps.
I want to enable my users who are out in the field to upload photographs to my map, and I don't mean just sort of general photographs that are sort of roughly associated with the place. I mean those kinds of photographs where they're actually integrated with Street View, so you can see them from the appropriate perspective. And I don't know, that might be a Google Earth only thing, I'm not sure, but I'm wondering if there's a non-coding way, or whatever is the simplest coding way to achieve that with Google Maps, if it's possible.
So we have this idea of custom Street View, and this maybe gets a little bit into the earlier question of HTML5 with geo stuff and so forth. It's really cool, I think. So I'll show you inside of the Sydney office or the Google office in Sydney, and then said basically, I took this photo, here's the exact location of that photo, here's the entrance way to the office, and with a little bit of JavaScript that you can cut and paste, it'll create this addition to Street View so that when you follow it in, you can kind of then go in here, and this is not part of regular Street View, so if you're going to Google Maps, you will not see this. And I took something similar when I was at a conference recently. I just went in the day before and took my little point and shoot, put it on a tripod, and stitched together a little panorama, and it took me like 10-15 minutes, and I had something similar to this. Is this kind of what you're referring to?
Yeah, I believe so. So how can I enable people who are out in the field who are perhaps following a walking map that I've created, add their imagery to my walking map?
Yeah.
Yeah, overlays on this.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few ways of doing it. One would be, as you mentioned, the sort of easiest thing is if you have the location of that data, which you get in various ways, just add a marker on the map. When they click the map, they see the image. But I think what you're referring to more
but that wouldn't be
is
an
this
image that's physically located in space.
Well, we might be referring to slightly different things. I'm not sure I 100% understand your question, but you can locate the point that the picture was taken at, and some information like that, and then when they click on it, they'll see the photo. That's not what you mean.
I mean, it's not just the point that the picture was taken at, but also the perspective or the direction that you're looking in.
Yeah, so I think this is kind of what you're referring to. And so you can use custom Street View tiles, we call them. And they're pretty well documented on our page as to how to take the photos if you have really, really large, like gigapixel photos, how to tile them up for quick rendering, and in addition, how to place the point so that Maps automatically creates this kind of route that you can walk down as if you were in Street View. And you can potentially follow it, on and on.
I think that's not it either. What I've seen is a flat photo, not a panoramic photo, just a flat photo, but it's just sort of placed in the map in the place. And maybe it's Google Earth that I've seen this.
Okay, now I think I see what you're talking about mainly, which is maybe instead of looking at the geography of the map, you're looking at a photo, but you can zoom in and out.
Yeah, but around the photo you can see Google imagery or Google.
It overlays. Well, maybe we should talk after and take a look at Google Earth.
Did you need any special hardware for this, or this is just a standard camera, not a 3D camera?
I just used my $70 point and shoot
cool.
that I put on a little tripod. Yeah.
Cool.
So how many just took pictures all over?
I took them with like a 25% overlap because that's what Photoshop likes to automatically create my panorama for me. But having all this digital together.
You had to assemble it into a 3D.
Just a panorama that goes all the way around.
Yeah.
So I think we're out of time. I would love to chat with you more. Sorry, I've gone a little bit over already. And thanks again to the sponsors and everyone for coming. So, hopefully I get